There is a specific kind of person who either survives toxic relationships or is about to, and they don't even realize they are already developing something that makes them untouchable. The psychology behind this, what actually happens inside your brain when you are dealing with someone toxic, reveals why some people break free and others don't. And if you are watching this, there is a reason you are here. See, here is what is wild. We have spent decades studying trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression, all the ways people break. But only recently have researchers started asking a different question. What about the people who don't just survive, but somehow become more than they were before? There is a term for this: post-traumatic growth, and it is not what you think. First, let's get real about what toxic relationships actually do to your brain. Because this isn't just they hurt your feelings. When you are in a toxic relationship, whether it is romantic, family, or friendship, your nervous system is essentially living in a war zone. Studies show that chronic stress from manipulation or emotional abuse spikes cortisol, your stress hormone, to levels that mirror actual combat situations. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a threat and a person who is gaslighting you. The effects: anxiety, depression, insomnia, your concentration fractures. Some people develop symptoms that look identical to PTSD. And here is the key part. These aren't character flaws. They are survival reactions. Your brain is literally trying to keep you alive. Research from Springer's work on toxic relationships found that victims experience everything from emotional distress to physical health issues: headaches, fatigue, a weakened immune system. Your body is screaming at you in the only language it knows. But here's where it gets interesting. Because what happens after you leave, that is where the psychology gets absolutely fascinating. Here is what researchers like Tedeschi discovered that changes everything. Roughly half to two-thirds of people who go through trauma don't just recover. They actually transform into something different, something more. And this isn't about bouncing back. That is resilience. Getting back to who you were before. What we are talking about is different. This is when someone breaks you down so completely that your entire worldview shatters. And when you are sitting in those pieces trying to figure out who you even are anymore, that is when something unexpected can happen. You get to rebuild from scratch. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, what you create is actually stronger than what they broke. Here is the paradox that might actually give you hope if you are feeling shattered right now. The people who transform the most are often the ones who got hit the hardest, the ones who couldn't just shake it off, the ones who had every belief about love, trust, and safety completely dismantled. If you are someone who barely felt a scratch, you probably will not change much. Because real growth, the kind that rewires who you are, it requires being broken first. And if that is where you are right now, sitting in the wreckage, you are actually in the most powerful position you have ever been in. But wait, before you think this is some toxic positivity, everything happens for a reason nonsense. Let me stop you right there. Post-traumatic growth doesn't erase the pain. Let me say that louder for everyone in the back. Growth and suffering coexist. They are not mutually exclusive. You can simultaneously carry trauma and experience profound transformation. Some survivors develop PTSD and post-traumatic growth at the same time. Your brain is holding two truths. This destroyed me and this changed me in ways that matter. The research identifies 5 areas where growth shows up. 1. You appreciate life differently. Small things hit different when you have survived someone trying to dim your light. 2. Your relationships transform. You forge deeper connections with people who actually see you. You become allergic to surface-level anything. 3. You discover inner strength you didn't know existed. There is this bone-deep knowing, if I survive that, I can survive anything. 4. New possibilities emerge. Doors you never noticed before suddenly swing open because your perspective shifted. 5. Your belief system evolves. Your values clarify. What matters becomes crystalline. But here's the part that makes this deeply human. Not everyone experiences this, and that is okay. There is no moral hierarchy here. Some people heal by simply returning to stability. Some people remain broken in ways that matter. The journey is not linear and it is not guaranteed. And if you are sitting here thinking, but I don't feel transformed, I still have panic attacks. I still flinch when someone raises their voice. Yeah, that is the point. The survivors who make it out, they all share something that has nothing to do with being strong in the way we typically define it. They get exhausted with being treated poorly, not in a dramatic way, in a bone-deep cellular way. There is this moment. And if you have been there, you know exactly what I am talking about, where something inside you just clicks. The cost becomes undeniable. They establish boundaries, not because they read it in a self-help book, but because their nervous system literally demands it. Boundaries become healthcare, not self-improvement. They seek support. And here is what the research shows. Therapy, support groups, even just one solid friend who validates your reality. These aren't luxuries. They are the difference between staying stuck in trauma and moving towards growth. Recent studies on coping with toxic relationships found that emerging adults who survive these dynamics develop specific strategies, emotion regulation, boundary setting, and what researchers call deliberate rumination, actively processing what happened rather than letting it passively haunt you. That last part is critical. Intrusive rumination, where trauma thoughts invade your mind, keeps you stuck. But deliberate rumination, consciously working through what happened, can actually facilitate growth. So here is what I need you to understand about the psychology of surviving toxic people. You are not broken for having been affected. Your anxiety, your trust issues, your hypervigilance, these are evidence that your brain did exactly what it was supposed to do. It protected you. And if you have started noticing changes, that you are chooser who gets your time, that you can spot red flags at 50 paces, that you value peace more than excitement, that is not you being damaged. That is wisdom your nervous system paid for. The research is clear. Toxic relationships leave marks, but those marks don't define the full story. For many survivors, those marks become maps. They show you where you have been, and more importantly, where you refuse to go again. Here is what gets me about this research on post-traumatic growth. It is not about glorifying suffering. It is about acknowledging that humans are astonishingly adaptive. We are meaning-making machines. And sometimes, when everything falls apart, we find ways to build something that actually fits who we really are. Not everyone gets there. The timeline is different for everyone, and you don't owe anyone a growth narrative from your trauma. But if you have survived a toxic person, and you are still here, still trying, still rebuilding your sense of self one boundary at a time, that is not just survival. That is transformation in real time. Your brain is literally rewiring itself. Your perspective is shifting. You are becoming someone who knows the difference between connection and control, between love and manipulation. The psychology of surviving toxic people isn't about being unbreakable. It is about discovering that when you break, you get to choose how you put yourself back together. And sometimes, those repaired places become the strongest parts of who you are. That is not a fairy tale. That is neuroscience. And it is happening inside you right now. If this hit home for you, please subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button to become a channel member.